Hi everyone, it's Catharine MacIntosh with Listed. I'm very pleased today to be here with Richard Silver. He is with Sotheby's International Realty Canada, Senior Vice President, and so many accreditations, I can't say them all. So I'm so pleased you're here with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
Okay, I would like to start with a story because we knew each other and we'd met, but one time I found myself in Davisville walking around after an appointment with other people, and I had a bit of time and I was walking by and I saw Sotheby's, immediately thought of you, and I just had this feeling to go in. So I went in to the front desk and I said, does Richard Silver happen to be here? And she said, no, I don't think he is, but I could give him a call. And I didn't want to put you out and have her call you. I mean, it's not like we had an appointment, but I thought, okay, well, she offered. So I said, sure.
Sure.
So she called, and I could hear you when she reached you. And she said, hi, Richard, there's a Catharine MacIntosh here. Do you know her? And you're like, oh, yes. And you said, tell her I'm 10 minutes away from the office and I'll be there shortly. And I thought, that's great, right? So I waited for you and you arrived. And I think that's what I love the most is that you're a yes person. Your glass half full always. There's not anything you wouldn't do, right? Like you bake for other people when you don't even eat the baking. So I think part of this interview was I really wanted to get across what makes you just this person that brightens so many people's lives.
Oh, thank you. I just, it's one of those things. I get up in the morning and I'm engaged with life. I have my list of things in my mind to do, and it never seems to drop off, Even if it just comes to, I'm going to relax tonight and watch a movie, there's still like an agenda, but it's automatically there. And it is, I like to be with people. I really do, as much as I can.
That is a very good point, because that's what I felt from the time that she phoned you to the time we were sitting in the boardroom upstairs at Sotheby's.
Yeah.
I felt comfort, like near you, with you. And so it's funny because I'm wearing my watch today, and this is actually the QR code that I had on my watch that day. And I said, Richard, we've developed something. We've developed something hoping that will transform the real estate industry from inside, not to disrupt it, but to bring agents and clients in alignment together through technology.
Yeah. There's a lot of disruptors out there. There's a lot of people who want to change the business and think they make it better. But the great thing about Listed is it keeps me closer to my clients. It gives me an idea of what they're looking at, what their interests are. It also allows them to get instantaneous information about a house that they may like or that they're driving by, or their searches, and I can keep track of what they're looking for. I get a better glimpse of what they're looking for, and oftentimes it updates them as to some of the houses that may have sold during our period of looking, and they are I want them to be very educated. I don't want them to be totally dependent on me. I think we just don't have enough time in the day.
Yeah.
So this way it automatically updates them, lets them know what's going on in the marketplace, and what's sold and what the relationship is between if they've signed up and signed on, they can know the relationship between the last price that it may have sold for 10 years ago plus what it was listed for, what it was reduced to, and now what it's selling for. And that gives them a lot of information that they need when they're doing a purchase.
Exactly. That was one of the goals when we developed it, was consistency and efficiency, right? So you're following a line of conversation. You're connected in conversation. Like some people, when they ask me what is listed, I want to say it's a conversation between you and your client.
Yeah. Normally, we've been using for many, many years the prospect match on the MLS, and it just doesn't give you enough information. And it also it gives the option for people to say that they decide to, it still is notifying them about properties until they actually ask to be taken off the prospect match. This way, they've got the app, they've got Listed, they can look at something that's sold down the street, and if they don't use it for another year, because they've already bought and they're not interested, they can still go back and find out what's happened on their street. So I think it's very much as possible, I like to give my clients aftercare.
Yes.
Continuous, so that it's not just transactional. It's not just let's get the deal done. It's after the deal, they still get information. They still find out what's happening in their marketplace.
Precisely. That's so important, because in this way, a client relationship doesn't have a beginning and an end.
No. Mm-mm.
A deal has a beginning and an end, but the relationship doesn't.
Yeah, I'm working with a number of buyers and sellers that I've been working with for years. And they've gone, they moved to Vancouver, and 4 years later they come back to Toronto, and they move to the States, and they come back. And that's, that's a very, very good thing, because you also, you help them buy a house when they have young children, and the children grow up and then they want to downsize. So you're still in that picture with them. And that's great.
And then as time passes and every year that goes by and you're staying connected, you learn more and more what they want, which must actually, the empowerment of knowledge combined with the length of time you've known them must really make the transaction less stressful, easier.
Yeah, and also, I think since we've had and been dealing with COVID, which, hopefully we're out of the woods, people are very much, they're very much focused on searching on their own. They don't go out. I mean, I remember taking buyers out and showing them 50 houses. And now most of the education is done online. They decide what it is they want, and sometimes they only see 2 or 3 properties.
Right.
And then they make a decision right away, because it fits the bill. And so I think the more you can have that sort of visibility in apps, online, etc., and listed, I think is just, it's a great product. I love using it.
That's excellent. I'm really happy to hear that you see that, because back to the day that we met, when I showed you the QR code and you took the photo and it hopped on your phone, you just got it instantly.
Yeah. No, I loved it. I loved it. I still do. And my sellers like it. Some agents may just be giving it to their buyers. I give it to my sellers and say, here, this will keep you up to date on what's happening, because it is important these days, especially, in a challenging market like we're in. It's very important for us to be, and our sellers to be up to date on what's happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, one of your colleagues with another brokerage, Jim Marshall, you recommended the app to him. He's so grateful. He joked with me, he takes it to his seller presentations. So he said, the first thing I do is show them how we're going to look at the inventory and talk about price. Mm-hmm. Because the current inventory and what's recently sold is always a determiner of price.
It is. And it's important to know the inventory. It's important to know what's out there. It's important to know, the history and the history of the area. I mean, have their properties been sold for, over $1 million on the street? What's the, what's happening next? And, we can always count on Listed for that information.
That's so great, because as you alluded to, there are a bunch of apps out there, and we have to ask ourselves, people are kind of app overload, right? Like, why do I need it? What is it? And I think the core thing for me is that with Listed, we're not competing with anyone as a company. We're not a brokerage. We're not an ad portal. Right. We align the interests of you and your clients for any agent who wants to have it, and we support successful agents being more successful. It's not for everyone, but it's this connection piece. And because there are other apps out there, those apps are often meant to be lead generators, and I don't think the public realizes that. Yeah,
they don't.
And it's really sad, because then their information isn't safe, and this other company that doesn't represent you is learning all this stuff about you.
Yeah.
Everything you look at and do is being learned about you, whereas on Listed, you're giving your clients this empowered, safe space where you're the only contact connected to them.
And that's what they like. And I always tell people, I say, look, here's the app, go on it, sign yourself up, designate me as your agent, and then I know what you're looking for. Plus, you can have a deeper experience. You can really get down and find out what's going on the property. And it gives them so much more information than, some of the other apps will show them what's around, but it will not give them previous prices. It won't give them the other information that we get unlisted, and they get unlisted. And I think that's very important. It's really my virtual office website. It is.
I love it.
Yeah.
Finally, the word matches what it really is.
I know. It is. It's a VOW, which is great. And that's been a hard thing to press and to show the importance to agents across Canada. They are a little afraid of not having that face-to-face, where this is just an adjunct to the face-to-face. It's just an extra to the face-to-face.
Exactly. We didn't make a technology. We made an amplifier for your relationships.
Yeah.
It's about connection and relationship.
Yeah, I cannot tell you the number of times I've had clients who say, I've been looking at the app, I want to see that house, and then we're making an offer.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's efficiency.
Yeah.
And then the great thing for your clients is, have you found when they love the experience and they want to share something,
they pass it.
They pass it along, and then naturally you go along with it, and your business grows and your network grows. Since you originally got it to now, have you found your network of clients in the app swelling?
It has. It's grown quite a bit. And sometimes I look and I'll look at the clients, I go, what? Who's that? I have no idea who that is. But somebody has passed on the app to them, and I'm allowed to see what it is they're looking for. Also, in the old days, we would drive around with people in our cars, and there would be a conversation that would go on. And now, a lot of times, you're just meeting people at the one house, and you're showing that one house to them, or two houses to them, or two properties to them, whatever. And it's interesting that you show these properties to them, they decide right away whether they're interested or not, and they've already done the research. They've already done all the footwork around it. Neighborhood, everything. So it makes it much easier. It really does.
It's interesting because back to making a choice, a lot of the other applications are what I would just say topical. Like, it's who needs the 10-year rolling average on what happened? Like, there's all these stats, but when you're buying a house and it's a heartstring thing, your agent is the one giving you all the data and the information that you're not going to know. But Enlisted, we wanted to make their ability to take what they like and put it in a list or share a saved search and actually work with it.
Exactly. Like, I work in an area where there are lots of renovated Victorian houses.
Right.
And I can tell from what they're liking whether they want something that's completely blown out and all white, or if they want something that is completely, separate rooms, etc. It gives me a feeling of what it is that they're looking for. Because other than that, I'm ending up emailing them or talking to them about houses that I know are not going to be what they're looking for. This way, especially, styles change constantly.
Yes.
And some people have, they have an idea in their head of what it is they're looking for. I just find, an agent, when in the earlier days, you drive around with your clients in the car, and then you would be able to understand from what they reacted to what it was they were looking for. This way, it's much easier when you look at their likes, and you can say, okay, well, I know that these people do not want a traditional Victorian with separate rooms. They want that whole open concept white look, and that's what they're going to be attracted to. And it is a great time saver, and it's also allows me to take them out, and if I do see something, say, that is not listed, it's coming to the market, and I can get in there before, I have a very good idea of what they're going to twig to, and that makes a difference.
Yes, absolutely. It's really interesting because I think it's underestimated just the value of how much that insight of being connected to what they're doing brings, both in terms of efficiency and understanding their needs, because they can't always articulate it.
No.
Yeah, when you start, they say they want one thing, but you learn together.
Well, especially with a husband and wife.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you'll have one person looking at that wide open space and the other person looking at the separate rooms.
Yeah.
The separate dining room, separate living room, separate kitchen. And trying to find something that is going to help them both is it's a chore, it's a challenge, but it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
And you know what? As well, it allows my sellers to be more realistic about the prices that they're asking or
Right.
what's happening in the marketplace, and I can explain that to them once I have an idea of what it is what they're seeing on their street. That makes a difference.
Yes, yes. So it's interesting from a value perspective. There's the whole adjunct that came up with Facebook and everything. When the product is free, the product is
Right.
you. And so I was in conversation with another agent who said, oh, I use this app. Yeah, it's from another brokerage, but it's free. And I think there's so much data that you're missing when you're disconnected from your clients. So I think it's important that your clients know that the product isn't free. It's free for them
Yeah.
because their agent pays for it.
Right.
So from a value perspective,
Well,
how do you feel?
I love it because my photo, my name, and everything, and it's so easy for them to contact me. They can stay on the app, press a little button, and it'll call me.
Yeah.
It'll send me listings that they're looking at. It'll tell me, it'll send me a message that this is what they want to see. They don't have to leave the app. And it's basically white labeled. It's got my name and my information and how to reach me, etc. It just makes it a much better process.
Right, like listed is you. In
Yeah.
fact, your clients in there with you
Yeah.
might just think this is just Richard.
They just think this is Richard's app.
Yeah, they just think
they
it's your
don't
app.
know that it's available for everybody.
And it is not available for everyone in the sense that people are deciding
Yeah.
whether they want it or not. So
Yeah.
you've paid for it, you have it, and then the return on investment.
Is great. And that's also, we're very transactional in our business, and that's one thing that's always been an issue for me. I think, as you say, you need to have clients for life.
Yes.
And I think just by being there and providing services to them, the job doesn't stop the minute you've sold the house. You need to be in their life some way. So if listed is one of those tools, or if I'm helping them move, or if I'm doing there was an app that we used to use, and we're probably trying to find another one. It got bought up, but it was one that helps them with the actual move.
Right.
Because when we surveyed our clients, and that was a couple of years back, they loved us until we sold them the property. And then, because we're a lawyer-based province, they didn't hear from us between the actual buy until closing, and then after closing, because basically we're guided to let the lawyers take over.
Right.
And they felt left out.
Mm-hmm.
They felt as if, we didn't love them anymore, we didn't connect with them anymore. This way I can still, it's just one of those things that keeps me tied to them and keeps them, I want to be in the conversation. I want to be the person that they call. I got a call the other day and they said, we don't know if we can move out by such and such a time. We can't pack the house. I said, no problem. I've got somebody to help you. You want to be that person.
You do, and it's interesting because you're such a technology guru and you're connected to all these tools that help you do your business and create conversation and make you more efficient. But it all starts with that connection. If you're not staying connected to clients, the rest doesn't even happen.
Well, I always laugh because people will use age as an excuse. And, I'm probably one of the, on the upper edge of people in the Toronto Real Estate Board. I'm right at the, I'm well over 65. And so when it comes to age as an excuse for not being involved in technology, I don't get it.
No.
Or I'm not really a tech person, or they have a lot, but you cannot, you are going to be overtaken by people who are, and there's a lot of people who are good agents, whether they're a listing agent or a buying agent, and they're very competent with technology, and they're looking to embrace new technology, and if you're not, then, it's a big problem.
And the funny thing is, it's actually getting much, much easier. Like Listed is so simple to use. It's one of the things we wanted to be able to make it seamless.
Yeah, no, it is. And, I look forward to your next project, whatever it's going to be, and the next improvement.
See, every time we talk, there's amazing. Now that I know that you need hand-holding from the moving process, guiding through.
Perfect.
There's a gap in the market.
Yeah, there's a gap in the marketplace. And those gaps, when they're filled by something that is going to make my life easier, my client's life easier, they're going to be happier. And they will sing my praises and talk to other people about me, and that's where it's all at. That's where it's all at, really.
Yeah, and I think it does have to be this vertically integrated product that starts. There's no end, right? It starts. Yeah. It's whatever stage they're at in the moment that they're at it. I want to bring up another story because the other day I was mentioning to someone I ran into that I was going to be talking to you today.
Yeah.
And she said, "Do you know Richard Silver saved the MLS?" And so I love talking to you because I know you understand where I'm coming from with wanting to lower the silos and have agents be able to do business seamlessly. What was she talking about? You've got this 45-year history and going. Tell me about this.
Well, after about my first 15 years in the business, so I started back in 1980. So I'm about to go into my 45th. I am in my 45th year, I guess. Yeah, I am. And when I started, we had no technology whatsoever. And then after about 10 or 15 years, I realized how important giving back to the community was. So I joined the MLS and Technology Council at TREB. And before you knew it, I was on the MLS and Technology Council at CREA. So I was involved in the building of Realtor.ca and also in the search for Stratus when, at Toronto Real Estate Board, and then watching what was happening across Canada as well. And I put in my, probably about 15 years of working and doing volunteer work. And I think that's, I think all of us need to do that.
Yeah.
It also gave me a very, very good concept of MLS, how it worked, how the technology worked. And, a lot of times, questions would come up and we would have agents say, well, I want to be on that committee because I want to learn about this. And I would say to them, I don't. This is not a learning experience. You have to know this information and then come to the committee so that you can be a participant in the discussion. And it was interesting trying to find the right people with the right mix. But we often did, and things grow, and things are constantly changing. There's some huge changes coming up in the next month or two in real estate across Canada, across the United States. There's some big issues that we're going to be dealing with in the next few years that are going to change the way we do business. However, I find those to be challenges, and I love a challenge.
Yes.
I'm not afraid of it. There's a lot of things. AI is becoming a big thing,
That's right.
And I've embraced it. I love it. I've found ways for it to work for me. And there's wonderful things that you can do with it. There's, things coming up that are going to deal with the separation of the buyer agent from the seller agent and the commission being split and how we do it now.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily going to be a lowering of commissions so much as it is going to be a more of a participation of the buyer dealing directly with his agent to pay them commission. So I think they're going to try and separate that out so that there is, and it's a little confusing. If you were in a legal case, you'd have your lawyer, the other side would have their lawyer, and you'd come to some sort of, but the way it is in our business, the commission is paid by the seller. However, it is the buyer who does pay in the price that commission. But at that is a bit of a confusion for most buyers. They don't understand that it's really the seller that is paying their side of the commission. This way it'll separate, which is more the European model. That's more we see, you see outside of Canada, the United States. So I think it'll be interesting to see how people adjust to it.
It will be very interesting because your example with law where each side must have its legal counsel, we're the only industry where you can represent both sides.
Yeah, exactly. How can you do that?
How can you do that?
If you had a client come to you and say, my husband and I are divorcing and we're using the same lawyer.
Yeah. Right?
That would be crazy.
Yeah.
You'd say to them, no, don't do that. You need to be, you need to have a separation of these two, have somebody on your side and somebody on their side.
Okay, since we're clarifying a bunch of things here, I have a question for you. So I have an agent who's been in the business 10 years. She's with a reputable brokerage. She could not understand Listed because her husband had downloaded it
Right.
and got a great agent, right, who was on Listed, and he didn't invite his wife, who's an agent,
Right.
but he could have.
He could have
which-
if she was a member. Yeah.
She's
that's easy.
yeah, and even
Yeah.
if she's not a member, you can invite your agent, and we'll
Yeah.
get them on board.
Yeah.
So
and
it's open.
You're not really signing a buyer agency agreement. It's just a matter of, this person will be the person who is going to be keeping an eye on what I'm doing, and that's important.
Yeah.
And this is the person I'm going to ask questions of. That's all. It's not, you're not tied into a contract for the rest of your life with that person.
Exactly, and this tied into the misunderstanding that you actually can't look at real estate if it's not connected to an agent or a brokerage,
Right.
right? Unless it's a Craigslist for sale by
Yeah.
owner.
Yeah.
Everything is, so there's the idea of the presenting agent.
Right.
So I was explaining that this property that is her listing that she saw enlisted with another agent because it was the presenting
Yeah.
agent. I said, it's actually being sold by 70,000 agents on 70,000 websites. It's
Right.
just listed,
It's just one of
It's
them.
just
It's
one
just
of
one
them.
of the, yeah.
and
It
it
is.
happens to be the best one, so you found it.
Yeah.
And so it's just a matter of being found. So what you could join it and
And be that person.
Be that person. And so what's very interesting is that Realtor.ca,
Right.
right, your clients or the public is getting the listing agent on every listing.
Yeah.
Right back to the court case, it's
Exactly.
the other side's representation on the listing they're interested in.
Right.
So in a way, I feel like for the future and for, what should happen and what love would do is that each person would be able to work with the agent they want
Yes.
for the relationship to never be disrupted.
Yeah.
Even if they chose not to pay for listed, the relationship's never disrupted for the consumer. They're always connected to their agent. And when that relationship is being built, your client is always in the care of the one person they know and trust.
Yeah. And that's important. The other thing I find, I sometimes will get requests on Realtor.ca,
Yeah.
and it's not it's not pertinent to me. I mean, it's pertinent to me, but it's not explained to me as to whether they have an agent,
Yeah.
and they're asking me for certain things, and I'm thinking, are these things that are public disclosure? If they are, I will send it to them. If they're not public, I will say, it's the first thing is, who's your agent? Can I send
Yeah.
it to them?
Yeah.
So I think it's very important. This way, if somebody connects to me through Listed, I already know that they're part of my family.
Yep, they're part of your family.
Yeah.
And when they sign up, they get you right away as a
Yeah.
choice, but they have the freedom to make that choice and invite someone else if they want. But
Sure.
it's always giving and empowering the consumer
Yes, to do.
to do what's best for them
Yeah.
and have you help serve them.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so back to organized real estate and
Yes.
your role in it. I mean, you've
Yeah.
been president of the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board. You've been a director at large at CREA.
Korea, yeah.
I mean, your answer was had a lot of humility, but you have really changed, shaped, and guided the industry to great, great ways.
It's almost very selfish. It really is, because it's something I always, the change that I was involved with, the changes and the fights that I took on as president of TREB, they were all, just to make our business better.
Yes.
Just so that I could be more proud of what it was we're doing and have, make sure that my clients are best served and make sure that we as an industry were working, together. And,
Yes.
and not it's an interesting situation because every night or every time we have an offer, we sit down with our competition and we negotiate back and forth. But very seldom in any other business would you do that.
Right.
So it is, you need to have certain protections. You need to make sure that the client is well served and that you're doing your job properly.
Exactly, and on that note on listing, you're reaching the listing agent because they're your colleague that you're collaborating with, and your clients are reaching you, so the order's correct.
Yes, and it's still, I must admit there are a number of times I look at, some of the way an agent will portray a listing, and it doesn't have the information that, I don't want to be in a situation where I have to call to get that information. I would rather, if it's public, facing information, it should be on the listing. It should be part of the documentation. And oftentimes, they're missing their phone number, or their phone number they got is their office phone number, or you have to dive in, you have to fill out a form to talk to them rather than seeing their email address, right there, so I can send them an email in 2 minutes, or I can text them in 2 minutes. It becomes, I don't get it, that agents don't put that information there.
Shouldn't it be Real Estate 101, be easily findable?
Yeah, be connectable.
Be connectable, be connected to?
Yeah. But, some people, they say, well, and you always hear this from new agents, and I really want to get into real estate, so I don't have a boss. Well, you have 10 listings, you have 10 bosses. You have 10 buyers, you have 10 bosses. It's, or I really want, I want to be, I don't want to work evenings. Well, good luck. Because I'm working, I was on the phone with a client at 8:30 this morning, and on the phone with an agent last night at 10:30 at night.
And after this interview, you have an open house.
And after this, I have an open house,
Yeah. Okay. And I think right now it's a very challenging market and a challenging time, but you have 6 listings out. Last count I saw.
I think we're up. Those were probably only the sale listings. We have also. It's a big time right now. I've never dealt with so many rentals because rentals are a big thing. So, we have probably 6 or 7 properties for sale and another 6 or 7 properties for lease.
Yep. Yeah.
And some of them are for lease or sale, whatever happens first, because it is a challenging market right now.
Yeah.
But it changes. I've been in the business for 45 years. I've never seen the business static.
No.
It's never static.
It's always going up and down.
It's up and down, and it's, and part of the problem is when it goes down, especially with some of the new agents who don't know any better, they will start hiding under the blanket. And that is the worst thing you can do, or they'll start cutting back on their advertising or cutting back on
the tools they use.
On the tools. And because they're trying to save money. And I'm thinking, these are things that are making you money.
Yeah.
Why in the world would you cut back on those things? It doesn't make sense, but they do. But I've never, I think of, for time that whenever the market has slowed, it's a time for really good agents to shine.
Yes.
And it's also a time for those agents to get a lot more business than the ones who are hiding under the blanket. So
it's time to double down.
Yeah, time to double down. You got to do, I think it's 3 or 4 months since I've had a weekend off where I haven't been doing open houses. I love open houses. Now, let me explain a little bit about how I like to do business. I've never been somebody to knock on doors.
Okay.
I've never been somebody to cold call. I don't like going after people. I like people coming to me. So oftentimes I'll do an open house, I make an event of it. As you know, I do a little bit of baking, my COVID thing. So this afternoon for our open house, I've got, Score Bar brownies, and I've got cookies that I've made, and I'm all good to make it an event. And I think that's the important thing, is making your open house an event, having all the neighbors to come. They know who you are, they know, and they remember things. Yeah. I've also started to do things like I will make a client a cake for the closing of their transaction, and I'll make it myself.
Yes.
And believe it or not, those little handheld, handwritten notes and things that you do on your own and gifts that you provide, they don't necessarily have to be expensive, but they have to be something that, if you've put your time and attention into it, that it means something to them. So, tonight I'm going to be making a cake for somebody.
See, exactly. it's not cost, and it's not, there are a lot of efficiencies. AI can change a lot of things,
Yeah.
but the new gold, I think, is going to be answering the phone, getting
Yes.
a real person, and
Yeah.
having a genuine connection.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I answer all my calls.
I know you do.
I
You
answer
show
all
up.
my calls. I answer all my emails. And if somebody shows me their phone and they have like 1,000 or 2,000 emails that have not been answered or looked at, I go, whoa, it should be 0 all the time. Should be 0 phone calls that you haven't returned. You have to return the phone calls. You have to do that. You have to show up.
Now, on that note, I love the idea of making your open house an event,
Yeah.
right? Because you're a people person, and these are all connection opportunities.
Yeah.
And because listed, your app
Yeah.
is a connection opportunity,
It's the
you've
same.
integrated
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
in every point of your marketing.
And we're going to be doing more. We're
Yeah.
going to be doing more because every time I have an open house, I have an insert that has all the data. And now I've gotten into a couple of things. I like it if the seller can tell me the story of why they bought the house and why they love the house. What room do they like to sit in to have their coffee?
Beautiful.
So I use that to create the description of the property. And I think it's really important because people want to know, can you imagine getting up in the morning and have a coffee brought to you as you're sitting in the sunroom and you're watching the birds outside? And it gives some personality to the house. It tells the story of the house. And I think that's really, really important. It's also the thing about listed, it's like doing my open houses. People are using the app to connect to me.
Yes.
I'm not pushing my information out there all the time to them.
Yes.
They're coming in.
It's a pull.
Yeah, and the pull is much better. I'm one of these crazy agents who will never ask people to sign a document. When they come in, where do we want me to sign? No, you don't have to sign. Here's my card. I'll give them a little bit of information about the property that they may not see, that may not be viewable right offhand, or that I think is really interesting about it, whether it's an addition or whether it's parking or garage or whatever it is. I'll point that out, and I want them to think of me as the person that they need to come to for the information.
Yes.
I've never been one of those people to chase people around. I like it when they come in. I like to go to a store and, if somebody walks up to me and says, "Can I help you?" and doesn't tell me anything, that's not that great. But if somebody walks in who knows me, walks up to me and says, "We've got some great suits on the second floor. You should go and take a look at them." And then I'm sold. It's different.
It's different. It's
Yeah.
different. And I bet with you, this would be true. Instead of getting people on the app, it's more they're thanking you when
Yeah.
you offer it to them.
Yeah, they love it. Especially there are people who are very much house oriented and they look at every single app but it's the ones that don't. It's the ones, I just sold a house at close the other day to a mother and son, and they're buying it for their son who will live in it. The parents have both aged out. And they both were on listed and they both were pointing out properties. And, at some point I thought, I almost wish I could physically take them off. I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't because, he would come back and say, "I wonder if we should have bought such and such a property." And I go, "Because it just got reduced again." I said, "No, I made sure that he got a great house.
Yeah.
With all of their, I's dotted and T's crossed. So, I'm sure they're going to be happy there.
Wow.
But it is.
It is that continuous conversation.
It is.
Yeah.
Because we're going to get the unit that he's had, his condo, ready for sale or rent
Great.
or whatever we're going to do with it. And, the mother will be selling her house, and I know that I'll be their agent. That's it. It's a family. And I've known the mother, oh my God, 45 years. I knew her when I was in my previous career.
See, this is beautiful. This is how business gets done when you're
Yeah.
successful. It just attracts to you through the relationships that you have. It is repeat and referral business.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's also, it's interesting as well to have a fan base.
Yes.
A fan base. In other words, not people who will always use you, but the ones who will always tell their friends to use you. And those fan bases are really important. And I think, somebody may say, oh, I can send out an email and I've got, 5,000, 2,000, whatever. But of those people, there's maybe 25 or 50 that are their fans, that
Right.
are the ones that are always there sitting at a dinner table and say, you should call
Yeah.
so-and-so.
Exactly.
And you want to be that person.
And when they're sitting there at the dinner table and they're your fan and they're sending out listing from your app to their friend
Yeah.
and you go along with it, that's how your network's been growing.
Yeah.
Because it's this item of value from a person they know in the moment they want to know about it.
Yeah. And, if they swipe right,
Yeah. They like it.
they get
Notified.
if they get notified. And sometimes they get notified. I may be, running around doing things, and they'll get notified and they'll call me and say, oh my God, that house just sold. What are we going to do? I say, well, we'll find another one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they're very well educated, and it's not me constantly having to go back as well. Oftentimes I used to, in the old days, we would get, you'd get up in the morning and you'd go and see what had sold. And you actually physically had to go into the MLS to see what had sold, what the changes were in the market, what had reduced in price. This way I get push notifications
Yeah.
from you guys of whatever has been happening
Yep.
and whatever's new. And sometimes, the other day we'd had a situation, the property they wanted had sold.
Yep.
And the next day there was another one that wasn't dissimilar that would have been a good option, and I sent it to them right away. And I said, let's consider this one. Now, they had already seen it,
Uh-huh.
and they were sort of considering calling, but this way we were on top of things, both of us.
Time is everything, right? You have
Yeah.
to act in the moment
Yeah.
that the action's required.
Definitely.
Yeah, to succeed. There's two things I want to make sure that I bring up. One of them is not only did you love Listed, which I appreciate, and it's so great because we've
Yeah.
been working together so long. But I think one of the things that attracted you is that we came from support of the market, not disruption of the market. And I that's one thing I would love everybody to know about it. And so we actually had 3 top brokerages in Toronto come to us when you guys lost your exclusive network
Exclusive, yes.
connection
Yeah,
and
yeah.
said, Catherine, can you make something? Right? We spent a year and a half making something at their request. And then I have to say, it's been a bumpy path because we made this amazing thing. And then all of a sudden, the law changed. And so when the law was going to change and nobody
Yeah.
knew, we got the call, never mind, we don't need it. And then it was like, well, now we know what the law is changing to, okay,
Yeah.
we do want it.
Yeah.
And now again, really great, smart agents
Yeah.
made stopgap measures like WhatsApp chat
Yeah.
groups and Signal chat groups and whatnot. But these are very linear
Yes.
posts and they're fractured and whatnot.
I also thought it was a really poor decision of the MLSs in Canada to do
me
that.
too.
Because what it did was, and just for an explanation if people don't know about it,
Yeah.
it basically says that if you bring a listing, the minute you start marketing it to other agents out of your office
Yep.
in any sort of way, or to the public in any sort of way, whether it's a coming soon or whatever it is, the minute you have 3 days, and in those 3 days you have to put it on MLS.
Unless it's a direct person-to-person, agent-to-agent communication.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you can do those kind of communication. But, and it's going to go to court, and there's going to be issues, and and to me, all I'm thinking of is what's going to happen, and I know it's already happening because somebody sent me one, is there's going to be non-MLS brokerages open
Yeah.
that are not members of MLS, that
Yeah.
don't have to work about that rule, and they're going to be allowing people to list their property exclusively and
Yeah.
not have their name in front of everybody, and to have some sort of privacy. And I think they're going to just create another level of non-MLS companies.
Yeah.
So
It's so funny because when I've spoken to a lot of people about this, I said, where we come from is we believe that every property possible should go to the MLS.
right,
Right? That's what makes the MLS in North America different than these other
Right.
places. But there are those properties
Yeah.
that can't.
yeah,
So if organized real estate doesn't embrace that in some way, it's actually going to be to their detriment.
Well, then it's
Like you're
also
speaking to.
it's also either the Competition Bureau that's pushing us, or in the States it's the Department of Justice that
Yeah.
push that. And the reality is there are some people who don't want to have their name out there as to what's going on. If they're, if they have a property and they have issues with, paparazzi or whatever, everybody wants to know sometimes they just don't want their name out there on the listing, and they want the privacy, and they also don't want a lot of people going through, because they know at the price range their house is at, there may be only 100 buyers in
The world.
in the world, or in North America.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Who could afford it?
who can afford it and want to spend that money. So
Yeah.
we're just hindering that sort of thing, and
Yeah.
it's. I also don't think it's it's wonderful to have an equal playing field,
Yep.
but sometimes people have the right to privacy.
They do, and there's even the instances that are very common that we don't realize, like an elderly couple who you can't come in and show the home, and they need the time and attention and space to have it be somewhat
Exactly.
private.
Yeah, and
Or-
to get the house ready for
Yeah.
the marketplace.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And then it
that's
goes to MLS.
yeah, and that's a big one. And I try not to put anything on MLS until it is in tip-top shape.
Ready.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it has. I mean, HGTV network has killed our it's killed our business. It's not killed our business, but it's certainly made houses to be more, the finished property has to be, it has to be like a show home.
Yes.
It can't just be, oh, there's a little dirt over here, or that, this needs to be. I remember years and years and years ago, there was a house in Lawrence Park, and the market was completely different. And somebody said, well, we're bringing it to the market, and it's going to be $650,000, and all it needs is a new furnace. And I'm going, a furnace is $3,000. Why don't you go out, buy a new furnace,
one.
put it in there, and then put it on the market?
Yeah.
Because why have it a discussion at the table? Why at the offer table? Just go and do it, and you have a brand new, $3,000. You're asking, 200 times that.
This is where I want to say that for any buyers or sellers who missed this point, when your agent, you work with somebody who knows this, that $3,000 furnace that your agent knows to put in can make a $150,000 difference for you.
What
with
happens
the
is
offers you get.
They'll get a building inspection, and the building inspection will say that'll be between $5,000 and $10,000.
Yeah.
Well, the seller here's $5,000, the buyer here's $10,000.
Yeah.
So the advantage is just go and get it done. Get
Also-
it done so it's not a discussion.
Just not a discussion at all. So the seamlessness brings more offers, gets a higher rate, gets bidding, like it all rolls together.
Yeah.
Okay, just back to the exclusive then. I want to say this. So because the law is changing, all the realtors who I think on the Signal chat group, almost
Right.
number 1,000 at this point, everything they post is going to become illegal January 3rd and beyond.
Right.
So what have done it listed is we based our whole exclusive network on the data schema for the MLS, so it naturally integrates.
Yeah.
And when I was in San Diego at the RESO conference, we've actually talked with the California MLS, and we're talking about a two-way data exchange with MLSs so that for the off-market inventory, in an anonymized way, being able to share it back to the MLS,
Yeah.
so the MLS always remains the source of truth, and we're going to win this, and the MLSs are going to realize it. It's just going to
Yeah.
take time.
Yeah.
So in the moment, Richard, here's the vision. All the agents that are currently on the WhatsApp, Signal, whatever
Yeah.
channels, need to get unlisted because the network doesn't matter if no one's using it. They
Yes.
were all skeptical. Oh, who owns this? Who's doing that? Like, you can validate this. We are a third party trusted by 48 MLSs across Canada, neutral party, creating a service to connect agents and
Right.
clients. So when you're on listed and you put your exclusives there, it's got a service license agreement for who owns the data.
Right.
The brokerages have oversight. We've taken away some things to make it as easy to post on listed as it is on Signal or WhatsApp or anything else.
Right.
So it's this opportunity that is now transformed. So January 3rd, it'll seamlessly transition
Right.
to what will meet the law and regulation, and then in 2 to 3 years, when it gets overturned, we'll have all the data and be able to be smooth running as if nothing happened and revert back to the system the way it is now, which works really well. So what can you help me say to make a post on Signal and say, post your exclusives on Listed and feel confident that you will not lose this traction and momentum with this opportunity for safe exposure for sellers and market inventory for your buyers?
It's important. It's important. I mean, there are very good reasons that a lot of people want to be off the market. They want to be hidden from the marketplace, whether it's parents who are sick. I mean, years ago, I can remember somebody coming to me with an offer and they wanted to present it face to face. My client was upstairs dealing with cancer. He looked awful. And there was no way I was going to bring him down and put him in that situation, because I knew that because the agent was working for the buyer, there was no way that she was going to not be able to tell her clients that the seller looked terrible. So my fiduciary duty was to protect him. I just came down to the kitchen. I said, you know what, he can't come down. He's got the flu and he'll give it to you. And so we did this presentation. Yes, I mean, I was lying, but the reality is I was protecting his fiduciary duty. My fiduciary duty was to him. She was very upset with me that I wouldn't let her plead the case of the buyers face to face, but I knew that that would be disadvantageous to the seller. And sometimes there's situations like that where you don't want to be totally on the market. You need to be, there are reasons for it not being on full MLS, because most people, I'm sure, know this, but the minute you are on MLS, you cannot restrict showings.
That's right. That's a large reason for it.
It has to be open, and that cleared up one problem, but basically started another problem, which is sometimes if you have times during the day, you have a baby in the afternoon, this napping, and you have to set up a schedule. Or if the house is, people have gone away for a couple of days and they're concerned about their whatever. There's lots of reasons why, and there has to be some flexibility there. And people have to have the right to do these things. It's, we are in a democracy.
Exactly. What would you say, or what could I say, or what would you say to your colleagues about posting their exclusives on Listed and getting on Listed with their exclusive inventory? I think
once some of them have successes doing that, it won't be an issue.
It'll just snowball.
Excellent. It's the same thing, oftentimes, I mean, what I like about you and what I like about the product is you come from a real estate background. Oftentimes, we get people who come to us with great product and they're technology people, and they have really no idea how properties are bought and sold. And sometimes that happens with our design people as well. They don't know what triggers the buyer or what triggers the seller. And they'll come to us with a product. I'm on, NAR has this, NAR has a group called Second Century Ventures, where they support new technologies, and I'm one of their mentors. And so things will be brought to us, and I'll say, well, that's really good, except you have to know that, let's say they had a great product to go on Facebook, and they had one option, so everything I put on my Facebook personal page went out on my personal page. But I said, but I have 5 business pages. So I have to be able to post on those, and I have to post the same information on my 5, Facebook page. Well, they didn't know that, or they weren't thinking that way. So they revamped it, and it became a different product. But sometimes you'll have that happening, and sometimes we'll see these. My 45-year history, I've seen fabulous, talented people with, products, and they've fizzled. Because they didn't understand real estate, but you understand real estate. That's the big difference.
Can I tell you the funniest thing, though? I don't know if you know this. I have had nothing to do with real estate, come purely from design and technology background, and actually realized that if I didn't go the deep artist, become an anthropologist, join. Actually, my first committee at TREB was the MLS and Related Technologies Committee. So I actually got into real estate just until I could have the aha moment of what was needed, because I knew it's so broken. Something had to bridge that dysfunction for consumers and the dysfunction for agents, let's be honest.
It's very interesting. In a lot of brokerages, even the agents are not allowed to update or to have access to the MLS broker load.
Right, add edit.
So add edit. So they can't. Well, how are you going to understand the system if you cannot add edit?
Yes.
You have to. I've always add edited my own listings. I go in, I change them all the time. I do all of that stuff, and it gives me a good comprehension of what the system can do.
Exactly.
But there are so many brokerages who don't want to let their agents do that because they feel that that is the service that they provide, that they charge the agents for, and they don't want the agents to know how to do it. So they think that a secretary who is making God knows whatever
at the front desk
is going to be more concerned about what's in that MLS listing than I am as the listing agent, who has a fiduciary duty to my client. And also, if something's wrong, can I be taken to RICO or one of the other bodies if I haven't done something right? So they think that I have less skin in the game than the secretary does. I don't get it. And so I've always, every company I've worked for, either I have total access to the site, to the MLS, or my assistant. As things got busier, I have an assistant, but I can go and I can do everything that she can do.
Yep. And Unlisted, you can go to your Me tab and upload your own exclusive listing in taps without even, no one's ever actually needed a lesson. When you go create listing and then you start, you just go each page and it's simple and easy.
It's done.
Okay, I've got one last question about the MLS that's just so important. So this has always struck me as very odd, but to be part of the MLS, this very important trade association, the prime tenet of it is compensation and cooperation.
Right.
So divergent brokerages come together and cooperate so that they can give, in the virtual office website or VOW data feed, all the listing inventory to their clients so that you can sell each other's listing, cooperate, and compensate each other.
So we're a board. We're a union.
A union.
Yeah.
What I think people don't realize, even some agents, is that there's not one MLS. There are many.
Mm-hmm.
There's numerous in Ontario. There's, there was 850 in North America. Now it's down to 550, right? Because some are coming together and amalgamating. But that tenet of compensation and cooperation, why is it pushed down at the MLS level but not employed at the MLS level? So why are MLSs not cooperating and compensating? Why can you not join one quality board in your current location and have access to all the data as a professional, part of a professional trade association? So when your clients that moved to Vancouver and came back, or LA and came back, you're the point of contact until you make the referral.
Yeah.
So Unlisted right now, you are connected.
I can see it. Yeah, Unlisted, I can see it, but I couldn't see it on the MLS.
Yep.
It wouldn't be there. I can see what my clients are looking at. I have clients here in Toronto and they're buying on Vancouver Island, and I get to look at the listing Unlisted in Vancouver Island, and it's tied, and I can make comments on it and say, give them the advice that I would like to give them. Otherwise, I don't have access.
And when that magic moment comes where you say, can you meet Charles at 4:00?
Sure.
They'll be at the property. You've handed them over. It's not separate and siloed. You're connected. So our vision is to be that connective tissue for MLSs in support of organized real estate that they're not able to do themselves.
Yeah, a lot of times it's a bit of a pissing match. It's my board has this and we use this MLS and your board uses that MLS and my MLS is better than your MLS. It's like kids. Kids fighting in the sandbox. And the reality is things would be much smoother if there was communication between all the boards.
Exactly, because if you imagine having to tell a client, you're in Oakville,
Yeah,
you show up to show them 4 listings,
right,
and of the 4 listings, you can't even from your own real estate board see that one
I know.
on the same street
right.
because it hasn't been connected. It's from a different
Yeah.
board. And
Yeah,
and then with interboarding, because that's not a solution,
No.
now you've got it in duplicate. It's either
Yeah.
in duplicate or non-existent.
right.
Why isn't there one, and why isn't it seamless? So we just want to raise
Raise
down,
that bar. Yeah. No,
raise
it's-
the silos down,
Yeah.
lower the
break
silos,
break them down.
break them down.
Yeah, it has to be number one, the client who is important.
Serving the client.
Serving the client, that has to be number one. And if it's best served under, one board or some way or under listed, you can look all across Canada, you can see all the boards that are there. That's the way we have to go. But there are
We
a
do.
lot of people who have, whether it's part of the problem is the boards think that they are only MLS. And the reality is the MLS is just a tool,
It's just
and the
data.
board has other obligations, whether it's rules, whether it's remuneration, whatever it is. But the MLS is just data. You can all be across Canada and across North America, all on the same MLS system, and yet have different boards that have different agendas because of the locale.
Exactly. In Oakville, I should
Yeah.
be able to be a key player in the Oak Ridge Moraine,
Sure.
right? Understand what is around my board,
Yeah.
and it's separate from the data.
Well, a lot of times because you have clients who are moving from one place to the other. They're within, a 30-mile range,
Yeah.
but you cannot advise them past a certain point unless you're a member of that other board as well.
Yeah. So because you understand this so well, I want to propose to you our vision. And
Sure.
I presented this in San Diego to a few people and to great reception.
Yeah.
As you pointed out with the off-market inventory, if organized real estate doesn't join something that supports it, it'll be disrupted by something that solves it.
Yeah, exactly.
So our idea with combining the MLSs together through a platform is, even if there's a competitor, I'm happy to help promote it. We work on real estate standards for everyone,
Yeah.
even our
Yeah.
competitors. So the idea here is really that the MLS has to remain the source of truth. So by being connected and having their members connect to various services, including listed as a third-party technology provider, all those connections strengthen the MLS. So the one common factor is the MLS.
Yeah.
And then they choose and offer all the services. The old school is one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
We're going to put out an RFP and pick a vendor.
Yeah.
They don't even have the people on the committee who know the technology to make the decision, and they meet 12 times a year and they run out of time. This has to be strengthened with the MLS like a wheel, where the MLS is the hub.
Mm-hmm.
We are a spoke. Our spokes connect to other hubs. Members are served, and you as a member are serving your clients
Yeah.
globally is
Yeah.
our vision.
That's where we have to go. That's where we have to go. There's no doubt about it in my mind. It's just, getting there is painful.
Okay, well, I want to thank you because I want to say that this is, who knows how it's going to go. My heart's in it, but the world will decide.
Yeah.
You supporting your clients with your app, recognizing a great technology, being on it, posting your exclusive listings on Listed, being part of this whole, meeting me today.
Yeah.
Thank you, Richard.
Pleasure.
It's beautiful.
Always a pleasure, Catherine.
Okay, can
Always a
you
pleasure,
live
'cause
without... Okay, go on.
Always a pleasure because you understand the business so well.
Thank
And a lot of people don't. They have an agenda, and it is, not necessarily to be there for everybody, and you are. That's great.
Thank you. Could you live without Listed?
I mean, I did for many, many years. I don't think I could now. I mean, I wouldn't understand why. Why? And no, I still can't understand why every agent in Canada is not using it. I can't. It is such a boon to our business and to our buyers and to our sellers, and not using it, I I shake my head. But there's a lot of people out there who, maybe they don't want to spend the money or whatever it is, and no matter how you make it cheaper for them, they're still,
Yeah.
ChatGPT, you pay $20 a month, and then you wouldn't believe the number of people who don't understand how AI. The wonderful thing about AI that a lot of people don't realize is it gives me something that no other technology gives me, which is time. Time. It's so important. I have the time now, to do in 1 minute something that used to take me, a day and a half to do.
Exactly.
And it does it better.
Exactly.
Because it uses machine learning. And I'm fine with that. But, there's a number of people who won't even pay the $20 for ChatGPT, $20 a month.
So we're keeping listed at a premium price, and that's just it. It's not one of these things you can get at the brokerage level discounted. And the reason we're doing that is it allows you to distinguish yourself from other people. So for what you pay, it's priceless, right? It's such a. What can you say to the value of paying for listed?
Yeah, I think distinguish or extinguish. That's going to be my new logo: distinguish or extinguish.
That's brilliant. I love it. Thank you so much for
Pleasure.
being here.
Thank you.
Okay.